All right, today we're going to tackle a huge topic, something that's really at the core of, well, everything. We're talking about philosophy. And trust me, it's way more personal and relevant than you might think. But before we even try to define it, let me ask you something directly. Just take a second here. Why do you believe what you believe? I'm serious. About the world, about who you are, about right and wrong. Where did those beliefs come from? Because that act of questioning right there, that's the starting line for philosophy.
You know, the word itself kind of gives the whole game away. It's from two Greek words, Philo, which means love, and Sophia, which means wisdom. So literally, philosophy is just the love of wisdom. And that's so key. It's not about having all the answers. It's about being passionate about the search for them.
And what's really wild is just how foundational it is. I mean, the great Aristotle, he called it the science of sciences. And think about why he'd say that. Before you can even start to do physics or biology or any science, you have to ask some pretty basic questions first, right? Like, what is reality? How can we be sure we know things? What makes an argument valid? Philosophy is the bedrock that all other knowledge is built on.
Okay, so if this is our bedrock, how do we actually do philosophy? Well, the best way to think about it is like a philosopher's toolkit. It's got these 4 core tools, or branches as they're called, that help us systematically take apart big ideas and really understand them.
All right, let's pop open this toolkit. First up, you've got metaphysics. This one asks the biggest question there is: what is real? Is this all there is, or is there something more? Then you've got epistemology. This is all about how do we know what we know? It's the study of knowledge itself. The third tool is axiology, and this one's about value. It asks, what's important? And that covers everything from what's right and wrong to what's beautiful. And finally, you have logic. This is the nuts and bolts, the rules for making a good argument. It asks, how should we reason?
But here's the thing, and this is really important. These aren't separate tools you just pick up one at a time. No way. They're all deeply connected. A real philosophical question makes you use all of them, because one question always leads to another.
And you can see that flow right here. Let's take an idea like justice. You start by asking, what is justice, really? That's a metaphysical question about reality. But as soon as you ask that, you have to ask, okay, but how would I know what is truly just? Boom, now you're doing epistemology. And then once you think you have a handle on it, you get to the big one. So what? Why should we even care about justice? Why is it valuable? And there you are, right in the heart of axiology. See how they're all linked?
So let's zoom in on that last one, axiology, the study of value. Because honestly, this is the one that shows up in our daily lives the most. And it actually breaks down into 2 big categories that I guarantee you've thought about. And those 2 parts are ethics and aesthetics. Ethics is the big one, right? The study of right and wrong, good and bad. We deal with that constantly. Aesthetics is a little different. It's also about value, but it's about the value we find in things like beauty, art, and just taste. Why do we think one painting is a masterpiece and another is junk?
Okay, so we've got the toolkit, the what of philosophy. But what about the how? How do philosophers actually go about, well, philosophizing?
Well, it's a bit different from a scientist in a lab mixing chemicals. For a philosopher, the laboratory is their own mind. Their main methods are things like logic, to make sure their arguments are solid and don't have holes. They use introspection, which is really just a fancy word for looking inward and examining your own thoughts. And they use meditation. And I don't just mean for relaxing, but as a way to deeply focus on a single idea for a long time.
Look, I get it. This can all sound super academic and abstract, like something for dusty books in university halls. But here's the real takeaway. You are already a philosopher. You do this stuff all the time, probably without even realizing it. Just think about it for a second. Ever gotten into a debate with a friend about what the right thing to do was in a situation? Yep, that's ethics. Ever looked at some social norm, some tradition, and just thought to yourself, wait, why do we even do that? That's philosophy, my friend. Every single time you listen to a politician or an ad and think, does that argument actually make sense? You're using the philosopher's toolkit. And really, that's the whole point, isn't it? The true purpose of philosophy is to give us the tools to take a step back and actually examine the things we believe most strongly. It's about not just accepting ideas because they were handed to you, but really digging in and understanding why you hold them.
So that leaves us with one last thing, a question I want to leave with you. Now that you've seen the toolkit, what are you going to do with it? What's one belief you hold, maybe one you've never really questioned, that you're going to take a closer look at today? because that's where the love of wisdom really begins.